If you go back to 2002 when we started, we've had 6 promotions in 16 years, 5 in the first 9 years. I think we've been extraordinarily successful, really, when you think we started with no team, no ground, no players, no manager, no kit. And within 9 years we're in the Football League. That's phenomenal, really. Okay, what's a community club? Well, there's all sorts of definitions. In our case, a community club is a fan that's owned by its community. The fans are members of the Don's Trust, which is the short name for the parent company, and all of them effectively have one vote in the Don's Trust elections. They select a board, the board selects a football club board, so in effect, the community of the fans is responsible ultimately for the football club, which is different from almost any other organisation I can think of. What we don't do, which I think is what's behind the question, is we don't have somebody rich putting their money in. If we don't break even in a year, no one's going to put their money in to make it up. I mean, we get lots of approaches from people who'd like to invest in us, which is a polite way of saying buy us. Why? Look what happened to the old Wimbledon.
What is the goal of the club then?
To stay fan-owned, to move into the new stadium, to get into the championship, and then have a look around and think, what next?
And how close is the championship for you?
We need a new stadium with all the income that comes with it in order to make us more financially viable and give us a better chance of getting into the championship.
Yeah, but like when you look at the sportive part, like the players, is there a policy that you do something different than other clubs?
No, I think that's a really good question. Should we do something? Should we do the same as other clubs for our players, or should we do something different? I think that's a really good question, and something we're about to start addressing, because really our strategy for the first years was stay fan-owned, which is continuous, get into the league, which we've done, get a new stadium, which we've nearly done. Now's the time to say what else is it we should be doing, and specifically what sort of football club do we want to be? If we're going to be in the championship and survive there, I think we can get there. Can we survive there? We probably have to become a selling club, like the old Wimbledon was, where we produce really good academy players who know they can get in the first team, because that's our policy, that's what I'd like. But having got into the first team after a year or two there, we sell them for a fortune to some much higher club. Until we really are stable, and then we start looking up again. There was a time when Wimbledon FC, and we consider ourselves a natural successor, had the shortest average distance between place of birth and the place where the club played. If that's not too clumsy. And I like that. I think, it would be great if all our players came from within the M25 ring road. That would be fantastic. That's idealistic, which we are, but maybe most of them could.
In een kletsnat Zuid-Londen verloor Wimbledon de degradatiekraker tegen Fleetwood Town met 0-1. Manager Neil Ardley vertelt over het werken bij een onvermogende community club.
To make the difference everywhere. When you take over a club, you don't just try and do the first team. Obviously my first job was to keep us up in year one, and then try and progress on the pitch, progress off the pitch, training ground facilities, help the academy to grow. There's so many things that need to happen for a club to become what it needs to, and it's a never-ending task, because the moment you think, yeah, that'll do, you stand still. So we have to keep pushing forward and make the club better. And I always said when I took over that when I leave, it will be in a better place than when I found it, and so much off the pitch already is.
You've got a lot of British players. Are you thinking about getting players from other places, like cheaper countries?
There's all sorts of stuff we're looking at with regards to that. Obviously London's an expensive place to live, so you have to look at what you can pay and what you can bring in, and it all has to marry up, and there's lots of obstacles that make it a lot more difficult.
And how important is the youth academy to progress?
Of course, everyone's, I was a young academy player coming through the ranks many years ago at Wimbledon, so you need that opportunity. We're in a tough area to pick up the best talent, but the boys are working hard at it, and when they come through, we need to try and make sure the pathway's there.
Okay, nice. And the last question, like Huddersfield got up with a player's budget of £11 million. Is it an example for you?
Everyone's an inspiration. You know, you take Shrewsbury are an inspiration with what they've done this season. It can happen. You've got to think big.
Independent-journalist James Pitbrook maakte de veranderingen van dichtbij mee en vertelt wat er nodig is om te bestaan in het Engelse topvoetbal.
Lots of money. Look at the championship this season. The top team is Wolves because they've got lots of Chinese money and Jorge Mendes is picking their players for them. The championship has got lots of great clubs and it's probably a more exciting, dramatic, competitive league. But ultimately everybody in the championship is just fighting hard to get into the Premier League and taking big financial risks to get there.
Huddersfield Town got up with a budget of £6 million paying their players. How could you explain that?
They got lucky. They very well managed by David Wagner, but they came fourth in the championship, which was an overperformance, and then they got lucky winning the semi-final and the final of the playoff. I mean, you need good management too, but ultimately in English football, money makes the biggest difference.
And are there clubs in England where you can already say they're developing their own youth academy players and making money with that and getting up with that?
Southampton used to develop their own youth academy players, but they've had to sell them all now, and now the team's lost their identity and they're probably going to get relegated this season. But the reality in the Premier League is that teams are so desperate to stay up that they won't play the kids. They'll buy players in from abroad instead, and that means they lose the identity.
And do you think it's possible for a club like AFC Wimbledon to ever reach the Premier League again?
I don't think so, because I think you need to be very ambitious and have a lot of money and be prepared to sell your identity a bit to get into the Premier League. And that makes it harder, I think, for a small community-focused club to get there.
And when I come back here in 10 years, what's happening then with AFC Wimbledon?
Oh, don't ask me, I won't be doing this job anymore. In 10 years' time, we'll be settled in the championship, a thoroughly integrated club in the local community, well regarded. I'm just wondering how on earth we can get ourselves into the Premier League. Team's coming out.